Magnesium is involved in over 300 chemical reactions in your body, and researchers estimate that roughly half of adults over 60 don't get enough of it from food alone. That gap is exactly why the nighttime magnesium habit has become so popular. But does it actually help, or is it mostly hype? Let's get into what the research actually shows. Quick note, I'm Dr. Lawson, an AI-assisted educational persona. This is general information today, not personal medical advice. Magnesium plays a direct role in regulating a neurotransmitter called GABA, which is involved in calming nerve activity and helping your body wind down. It's also involved in melatonin regulation, the hormone that governs your sleep-wake cycle, and it helps relax muscle tissue throughout the body. That's the actual biological reason a magnesium supplement before bed is associated in some research with easier sleep onset. It's not just a placebo story, there's a real mechanism behind it, working on at least 3 different systems at once. Here's the honest nuance, though. The research shows the clearest benefit, specifically in people who are magnesium deficient to begin with. If your levels are already adequate, taking more generally doesn't seem to meaningfully improve sleep further. This isn't a universal sleep aid. It's more of a fixing a gap habit for the people who actually have that gap. And that gap is worth taking seriously because magnesium deficiency tends to be quiet. Unlike a lot of nutrient issues, it rarely shows up as one dramatic symptom. Instead, it tends to show up as a cluster of small things. Slightly worse sleep, occasional muscle cramps, a bit more irritability than usual, and mild fatigue that's easy to blame on anything else. Why does this gap happen more after 60 specifically? A few reasons. Your gut becomes somewhat less efficient at absorbing magnesium from food as you age. Certain common medications, including some diuretics and acid reflux medications, can increase how much magnesium your body loses. And realistically, diets can shift over the years in ways that reduce magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Carol. Carol is 66, retired, and had struggled with restless, light sleep for over a year. She'd tried melatonin with mixed results and was skeptical about trying yet another supplement, having already spent money on things that didn't seem to help much. At a routine appointment, almost as an aside, her doctor suggested checking her magnesium level along with her regular panel. It came back on the lower end of normal, not severely deficient. Not something requiring urgent attention, but low enough to be worth addressing. She started with a modest evening dose of magnesium glycinate, a form that's generally well tolerated and less likely to cause digestive upset than some alternatives. Taken about 30 to 60 minutes before her usual bedtime as part of a simple wind-down routine. Within about 3 weeks, she noticed she was falling asleep somewhat faster and waking less during the night. Not a dramatic transformation, she still had the occasional restless night, but a real noticeable shift in the overall pattern, which lines up closely with what the research on magnesium and marginal deficiency generally shows. A meaningful improvement, not a miracle cure. Now, a few things are worth being genuinely careful about. Magnesium supplements can interact with certain medications, particularly some antibiotics and osteoporosis medications, so it's worth checking with your pharmacist before starting one, especially if you're already on other prescriptions. If you have kidney disease, your kidneys may not clear excess magnesium efficiently, which makes this a conversation to have with your doctor first, not a habit to start on your own without guidance. For most healthy adults without these concerns, magnesium is considered quite safe, with the most common side effect simply being loose stools at higher doses, your body's fairly reliable way of telling you the dose is more than you need. Here's something that surprises a lot of people. Not all magnesium forms are equal for this purpose, and the label matters more than most people realize. Magnesium oxide, the cheapest and most common form on store shelves, is actually one of the least well absorbed. A lot of it simply passes through rather than being taken up by your body. Magnesium glycinate and magnesium citrate are generally better absorbed and less likely to cause digestive upset, which is why they tend to be the forms researchers and clinicians point to most often for this specific evening habit purpose. If supplements aren't your preference, food is a completely reasonable starting point too. Pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, black beans, and dark chocolate are all genuinely good sources. Working a small handful of pumpkin seeds or almonds into your evening routine isn't a dramatic intervention, but it's a real, low-risk way to nudge your intake upward before considering a supplement at all. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because how much is where a lot of people get stuck. The general recommended daily amount for adults over 60 is around 320 milligrams for women and 420 milligrams for men, though your doctor may suggest a different target based on your blood work and health history. Most over-the-counter magnesium supplements for sleep fall in the 200 to 400 milligram range, often meant to supplement dietary intake rather than replace it entirely. That's why checking your actual level first is more useful than guessing at a dose. And one quick myth worth clearing up: more magnesium doesn't mean better sleep, even for people who aren't deficient. Unlike some vitamins where a little extra can't hurt, very high doses of magnesium can cause real digestive discomfort, and in rare cases, more serious effects, particularly for anyone with reduced kidney function. This isn't a more is always better supplement, which is exactly why testing first, rather than assuming, is the more sensible approach. If you want to explore this more seriously, a reasonable starting point is asking your doctor about checking your magnesium level at your next blood panel. It's often easy to add to routine blood work. If it turns out you're on the lower end, magnesium glycinate in the evening, at a modest dose, is a well-reasoned place to start, alongside your doctor's guidance on the right amount specifically for you and your other medications. Tell me in the comments, have you tried a magnesium supplement before bed or noticed any of these small, easy-to-miss signs yourself? I'm genuinely curious how many of you have a Carol story of your own. Magnesium before bed isn't a universal fix, and it's not going to transform anyone's sleep overnight. But for the roughly half of adults over 60 who may be running low, it's a genuinely well-reasoned, low-risk thing to look into with your doctor. If this helped you think it through a little more clearly, subscribe for more of these breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one.